Okay.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. I feel like we're all pros at this now. This is Share the Care's Resources Within Reach series. I am Christy, the founder of CAREbyChristie. For those of you brand spanking new, CARE stands for Creating a Roadmap for Elder Care. And my mission is to connect family caregivers to resources within reach, like Jesse here from the Memory Compass. And each and every Thursday at 6 p.m. right here on Facebook, we're going live to take a deeper dive into the resources that I personally have already worked with. I really support and advocate for and want families to know about. So a very exciting thing just happened. I'm sure you've seen it because I've been trying to low-key push it out there, but CarebyChristie just hit 1,000 follows. 1,000. Blowing my mind.
I know. I cannot believe that. That is insane.
I know, I'm so excited. So thank you all for tuning in live here with us, just to kind of give you a quick rundown of how things will go. So Jesse and I, of course, are going to take a deep dive here and share all the goodness with you. And then if you're unable to visit us live, I encourage you to catch the replay. Tomorrow, the replay will be on YouTube, on all podcast platforms. You can search Share the Care. It's all one word. And we will just continue to push out that replay for you if you've missed it here live. And what else? I think that's it. So Jesse, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
Excited.
I'm excited too. I feel like people are probably sick of me saying how excited I am each and every Thursday. Even James is like, it's show night. Are you excited? Yes, I'm always so excited. And this is extra special because we have had the opportunity to work together very closely on a couple family situations. So we will get to that. But I would love if you would just introduce yourself, introduce your business, and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Also, I want to add that Christy and I met it's been at least a year now.
Yeah.
Back kind of when both of our concepts were just in the really baby stages.
Little seedlings.
Yes. So it has been so fun to see how just so much has changed in the past year. For both of us. So it's been so exciting. So anyway, I'm Jessie. I am the owner and the founder of the Memory Compass. The Memory Compass is a mobile outpatient therapy service in the Indy area. So for outpatient therapy, I see patients in their homes in areas of Zionsville, Carmel, Westfield, Noblesville, Fishers, that area. And then I also do private pay family coaching with families who are trying to navigate what to have in place for their loved one who has recently had a dementia diagnosis. So my whole private practice is all focused on families who are faced with the diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's and dementia of all the various forms. So, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, vascular dementia. I help families with all of the
Which is so incredible. And we will of course get to this, and anyone that watches these knows that I just kind of bounce around because things come up and I'm like, oh, let's talk about that. But it's so fascinating for me to have learned through our year together kind of some things that when families say, in my mind, I'm like, oh, Memory Compass. Oh, you need to talk to Jesse. And so I know we'll get to that in a little bit, but I would love to hear kind of your background, how you got into this, like where this came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So my background is I am a speech language pathologist. And so often people hear that and they think, why in the world would a speech language pathologist be working with somebody who has dementia? And what people don't know is that, if you're familiar at all with settings of assisted living, memory care, long-term care, skilled nursing, that rehab to home, when somebody goes there, either they're admitting as a resident and they're going to live there, or whether they're just there for rehab to home, anytime somebody is demonstrating confusion or difficulty with memory, they actually get referred to a speech language pathologist. The easiest way to put it is physical therapy is obviously going to work on lower body, occupational therapy, upper body. If there are any therapists watching, that's very basic descriptions. But for speech therapists, it is, it's voice swallowing. We obviously help with expressive and receptive communication, but when there is a dementia diagnosis, something that is declining is your cognitive communication skills. So your ability to follow directions, to sequence, to problem solve, to have attention to a task, all of those things start to decline with the disease progression. And so that is why you get referred to a speech language pathologist, because we also work on putting things in place to help those areas. So I worked in that space for about 6.5 years. And what I was hearing over and over again was that, a family, a loved one might have a diagnosis, but nobody was really explaining to them, what does this mean? Like, what does early stage mean? What does middle stage mean? What does late stage mean?
Sure.
And, with those breakdowns and those cognitive communication skills, being able to sequence and follow directions, nobody had ever really told them ways to help that breakdown. And I felt like, they weren't seeing me until they were already in more of a different transition in their life, or maybe they needed a long-term care placement. And I decided that I wanted to go out into the community and meet people where they are before maybe needing that transition, and, to help families navigate what to do, and so that they wouldn't feel lost. Because the other thing I was hearing over and over again was that the families, they would say, well, we received the diagnosis, but the neurologist said, well, I'll see you again in a year. And during that time of diagnosis, they weren't, they were in the same room with their loved one. And so the family had a lot of questions about what to do, but they were sensitive to asking those questions right in front of their loved one.
Sure.
So they had said they would just tell the neurologist, we're fine. And I think we all as humans, we do that. We go to the doctor and they ask us, what's going on. And we know we have 15 minutes to say everything we want to say. So we just say, we're fine.
Right.
But really, we're not fine. And the other thing is that maybe they were getting referred to a support group. And I completely believe in attending support groups and belonging to support groups. But sometimes what I've found is that, the support groups, you don't get your one-on-one questions answered.
Totally.
You don't have somebody there to, in that moment, just answer everything that you need maybe in an hour's time answered. So I wanted to be able to offer that to families, to be able to ask their questions about, what does this mean? What should I have in place? Why are they doing, why is my loved one doing the things that they're doing? So that's why I decided to not only have the outpatient therapy part of the business, but also have that family coaching part of the business, because I really want to support not just the individual, but also the family, because they need just as much support.
It's all good. It's all good stuff. I love it so much. I could hear it like over and over again and still think it's just like the coolest thing. Oh, and what's my favorite part about it, of course, selfishly, is the family caregiver support. And because and we have a similar, I'm no therapist, maybe to my friends and family, but not professionally. But I served in that space, and that is how my business was born, is,
Right.
Okay, wait a second. I have done this for 9 years and
Right.
continuously heard the exact same thing. And it's that, hey, a crisis has happened, or
Right.
we want to be proactive, but we don't even, what would we do first? And
Right.
so I think that it's super important, and we're going to talk about a couple of the clients that we've worked on together, but my first client that we ended up working with together, she said that, how did she put it? She said that it almost felt like they were talking past her.
Mm-hmm.
And just a very tricky situation when the person that you're caring for and your loved one cannot clearly communicate or clearly understand. And so when you don't holistically involve the family caregiver or the family as an entirety, you're missing a huge crucial piece to the puzzle. And I think that the way of specialty supportive services like ours is how we fill that gap. There's no one saying that the system is wrong or bad, or that, I mean, same on the support group train. Love a support group. But I also know that it's similar to the doctor experience, where you get that maybe 15-minute window or 20-minute window, and you do have that kind of social pressure. It's probably a little bit different on Zoom now, but you do have that social pressure to maybe not super unpack what is really going on. And knowing that if it's going on for you, it's probably going on for other people as well.
Right.
And so I love what you're doing. I think it's super impactful, the speech therapist component of it, and educating people on what that actually means. So I think that your explanation and definition was perfect, and it will land well in the people that maybe don't have the healthcare background, because that's something that I'm super passionate about too, is educating in layman's terms what we're talking about.
Right.
Because that's a barrier too. I don't know what that means. I don't know that vocabulary. So they just don't pursue anything.
Right. Right.
So we're here to like overcome that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's there's nobody gives a family a manual of what they should have in place, or just even what to do with this. And one thing, and I've heard this doesn't come from me, I didn't come up with this, but I heard somebody else say this, is that everybody right now with COVID feels so isolated. But this population that I'm serving, they were isolated way before COVID. So just imagine how we feel right now, not having that human connection with others. This population, I mean,
for decades.
Yeah, they don't have that support system to give them time, and even to give them the counseling that they need through all of this. One thing about support groups, now it's different because they're being done virtually, but, I've worked with a lot of families where they would love to get to one, but they can't, because they can't leave their loved one at home. So they're not getting any of that self-care for themselves, and they're not able to go to things like conferences or workshops or things like that to learn more tools. Right. So that's another reason why I wanted to do what I'm doing, is to have, virtual consults with families where if they are home with their loved one, that's okay. Totally. And be able to give them that support and help, within the amount of time we're together, decrease that isolation.
Yeah. And another thing that you do that I love is the adapting of the home setting. So like being able to go in and like physically lay eyes on the entire true picture. You can't say I'm fine and everything's fine, because Jesse's coming to your house or she's gonna like look around on Zoom. And so it removes that obstacle. And a lot of times, kind of dementia removed, just in general, people are very set on it's either home or a nursing home.
Right.
And I'm on board for home. I support that fully and forever. I just want you to be safe.
Right.
I just want you to have tools in place, support in place, and be safe.
Right. Absolutely. And that's one thing that, another reason why I really wanted to start this is that, there are outpatient services available. And I believe that, that's fine. But with this disease, I truly feel like the therapy should happen in the functional setting, which is the home environment. And, I do receive referrals from neurologists, and they have said just praises about how they don't have anybody that's the eyes and the ears in the home. They don't have anybody to actually see the breakdown of okay, well, are they not taking we hear they're not taking their medications, or we hear they're not showering, or, we hear they're not eating, but we can offer some generalized recommendations, but we can't actually go in and see what the breakdown is and offer individualized recommendations. So that's where I can go in and I can actually look at the breakdown of what's happening in the home, and I can give very individualized recommendations on ways to help your loved one.
I love that. That's like probably my favorite part of what you offer. It really is. And it's because, especially during COVID, people are home with their loved one all of the time.
Right.
All of the time. And so some of the things that maybe they didn't see because they went to work.
Right.
They're now seeing.
Right. Yeah. And another thing is that something that I've found is that, I mean, everybody's doing the best that they can,
Totally.
But sometimes we as humans don't see our loved one as far advanced as they might be. And we start doing things for them, like, oh, well, they're in their 80s, so they shouldn't have to worry about doing their medications anymore. And they shouldn't have to worry about, doing their laundry anymore. They've worked so hard for so many years. But I have found that usually, that's not actually normal aging.
Right.
But we're compensating for our loved one without realizing, because we just are, as humans, like, we want to help those we love. So having somebody else go in and not kind of be stuck in that same routine or same view, bird's eye view, having somebody else go in and say, this is not normal aging. These are things that you can do to try to enhance, your loved one's function, give them a good quality of life, but are maybe you compensating a little bit more for them than what you should be. And here are some resources and some supports as well. Maybe do they need in-home companion care?
Sure.
Instead of, like you said, like, oh, it's time to transition to, assisted living, memory care, long-term care.
Sure. And it's kind of like, I'm sure that you probably experience this with your son. You see him every day. Yeah. And so then if you see a family member, they're like, oh my gosh, he has gotten so big. And you're like, yeah, he looks the same. Like, I see him every day. Yes. So it's similar to that. And when you're in it, when you're in the thick of it,
yes,
it's hard to even step out and see that bird's eye view, to even see what the real big picture is. And in my short stint of non-medical home care, it was fascinating. I served as a caregiver also, which I loved doing. But it was fascinating to see the lady specifically that I was just hanging out with her. I was just her friend. It was awesome. And she loved folding socks. Mm-hmm. So I literally had a TJ Maxx bag just filled with mismatched socks, and I just took them and we just folded them and then unfolded them and then folded them and unfolded them. And so sometimes those things that we are quick to do are actually the things that, especially with dementia and reverting kind of back to that, when they were 20, 30, 40 years old and liked doing some of those things, that still can provide a purpose and the feeling of purpose. So having you to come in and say, it sounds like, or it looks like they actually enjoy doing that, or could help, could just assist with. Right. And that, to me, also gives more opportunities for engagement and quality of life. And some of the things that people are like, I want that, but I don't know how to get it, or I don't know, like, they're Pinteresting, like, what activities to do with my loved one with dementia. Right. So
yeah, and I, there are things that are going to work for some and activities that are not going to work for others. And there's so much information out there, online, that you could just spend hours and hours trying to figure out what to do with your loved one. And I love, obviously being on, wanting to figure out the things to do for your loved one. But I've also dealt with some families that it's very frustrating when what they're trying to do doesn't work. where sometimes it just needs to be done in a different way, and I can go in and help with that. Like, for example, I had a family that they bought all these puzzles for their loved one, and it was like 300 pieces, and they had gone from 1,000 to 300, and the individual wasn't able to do it anymore, and they got really frustrated and they didn't understand. Well, it's okay sometimes to go down to 64 or go down to 36, but they just didn't.
They thought that was a drastic jump.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Or just anything, like you said, with folding laundry, maybe it is just the socks versus having them do a whole basket of all different types of things, because all different types of things can become confusing.
Yeah.
Sorting things, or there's certain things that they can sort. It's just very individualized what you come up with. I like to figure out what career someone had, and what was their normal routine. Were they a nurse that worked nights? Is that why they're sleeping all during the day now? I like to figure out all of those things about your loved one as well, to try to come up with things in the home.
Fascinating. I love it. It's so good. Okay, so next I would love to, and I don't know where this is going to go, so we're just going to roll with it like we always do. I just want to kind of talk through Carrie, and we're allowed to call her that because we had her on the birthday bash. She knows we love her. So how that worked on my end, and then I'll lobby it over to you.
Okay.
So I had for a while been doing like a free webinar, just kind of a come and learn what I'm doing, and if it makes sense for you, great. If it can help you, great. If not, you're just a little bit more educated on the senior space. So I had a lady that actually ended up signing up for my program, and it was the night before my program. I feel like I've maybe shared this with you. No one had signed up, so I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm just here to show up and give the goodness and see what happens. And then the next morning I woke up and she had signed up, and I was like, all right. Okay, here we go. We're doing it. It's fine. So we actually spent 3 days together, and I had in my mind that on the last day, I wanted to have a guest speaker. I couldn't decide the guest speaker until she really unpacked what was going on with her. And again, like I always do now, the things that she was saying, I was like, ooh, you need Jessie in your life. So I was able to have Jessie on as a guest. And that was awesome. So we kind of got to just like, it was like this, it was Zoom, and we just got to like wrap around her. And I feel like she just really felt seen and heard. And that experience with her and I is really like, that is what I'm offering, is that base foundation. Tell me your situation and I'm going to connect you to the resources. And then you took it from there.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So you did such a good job of like you said, like listening to what she needed in that time. And that's in this space, families don't always get the amount of time that they need to let out everything that they need to let out. And you gave her that opportunity to just listen to her. You gave her tools and strategies to use for herself, self-reflection, self-care, which is another thing that, in this space, care partners just don't do a lot for themselves, because they just don't have the time. But also how important it was that she did that. You gave her those tools as well, how important it was for her to, take that time for herself. And then I was able to go in and analyze, the situation in the home and provide them with individualized recommendations that had somebody not gone into the home, they wouldn't have known where some of the breakdowns were happening.
For sure. And she has been caregiving for a long time, has been. Like, so I imagine, and I heard this from her, that she truly, and I believe that she had, because she is a little go-getter and she crushes it, but I believe that she had tried everything she could think to try.
Yes.
It's not like she was just twiddling her thumbs being like, okay, well.
Yes, this is one of the most organized, on top of it, research care partners ever out there.
Didn't you say that she was like one of maybe the only that like did her things that you told her to do? She was like ready.
Yeah. Yeah, she was prepared every time that I went to the house. I mean, she had done whatever the recommendations were. And sometimes, you know, it is hard, you know, I can give recommendations and it's hard to get into the swing of something different, a different routine. And she always had everything done and ready to go for the next thing.
She was like the best thing to happen to
yes.
my Care by Christie journey for sure. She was like, once I was not done with her, because I still like to touch base with her and just check in on her. But once I was kind of done with my portion, it was just so affirming for me. I was like, that's why I'm here. Let's just get a ton of carries in my life and I will just get them to who they need to be with. That kind of take it from there. And she said something to me that has stuck with me for a minute. And it's that, and you maybe feel similarly. Actually, you're maybe not, because you offer very therapeutic, wise, educated advice, and I'm just self-care supporting. But she said it's not that the information that I gave her was like earth-shattering, brand new information. I didn't make it up. It was how I packaged it, delivered it to her, so that, like you said, people that are caregiving, they don't have the time, they don't have the energy to do some of those things for themselves. So for her to be able to just grab her self-care menu that we created based on what she actually likes to do, you can just go to your list or pull it up on your phone and you have 10 minutes and you can, you know, do X, Y, or Z. So that's something that I just really wanted to relay and communicate, is that I understand self-care is on every platform. We're calling it soul care now, so it's totally different.
Yeah, soul care.
You know, I like to make up words. CareGetters, soul care. It's
I love CareGetters. So
I do too. Yeah. I do too. So yeah, that's just, it was really cool, I think, to see how the transition happened off to you and how we're still kind of able to wrap around her and support her and just be the space. Just what I love to say, just to be the space for what people need.
Right. And something that I love about that case and some other cases as well is that, you know, oftentimes if it's that kind of outpatient clinic setting, you really don't see your therapist again until maybe there has been a need for a, you know, plan of care, you know, to cover the insurance again. But something a little bit different about what I do, because I'm supporting both the family and the caregiver, is that I, you know, after therapy is done, I do continue to support them, which is something that, like I said, it usually, if you go to an outpatient clinic, you just see, you know, your therapist for, let's say, 12 sessions, and then you don't see them again, where I really want to have that ongoing relationship, that it's not just during the time that you feel like you're at a declined rut, you know, that I'm there to have that relationship with these families as the disease progresses and as different things come up.
Yeah, that's crucial. That is huge, like huge. And I actually had a note about that when I was just like jotting down things to talk to you about. And the reason that I think it is so huge and critical is that typically people have many doctors. Yes. Many different types of doctors. And so sometimes I think the whole I'm fine, nothing's changed is because they don't want to retell their story.
Right.
They don't want to retell you or re-experience what's going on.
Right.
And so to have unpacked this with you one time and have this ongoing experience, you don't have to deal with that. You've got somebody in your corner, and you also are well connected. And so being able to say, oh, I have this person, and this person that would really kind of fill that gap for you. Would you be open to that? Like that type of relationship is incredible.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
you. And all the things that you do, and I could just be your hype for days. You know this. So, and we may have talked about this, but I just wanted to reiterate that you are able to go to wherever somebody calls home, not necessarily just their home, like their family home that they've lived in for 40 years. So let's talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, so I do not just go into, your home, just like you said. I also go to assisted living and memory cares as well. So I have worked with patients who, maybe they are just transitioning into a new level of care. And I help with, okay, well, how should the environment be set up best for them? Things that families maybe purchase for them thinking that they're going to work are not always. There's a lot of different things on the market, like clocks and phones and all these things to support individuals who have a dementia diagnosis, but not all of them are beneficial for that individual. And then being able to help train them on using it too, because sometimes things are purchased, you're already in a new environment, but they don't know how to use it. And they need somebody there to figure that out, as well as just educate the other staff, like the nurses assistants, the nurses, social workers, unit managers, on this is the stage that the loved one is in. This is where they are cognitively. These are the best approaches for them. And then also to relay that back to the family of how things are going within that setting, especially now for COVID. Some families have been very relieved that I've been able to go in and work with their loved one and be able to report back to them, okay, yes, this is actually how things are going. But not just in the therapy side of things. So for therapy, I'm credentialed with Medicare Part B. So that's where I can go into the living environment.
Sure.
And the therapy services are Medicare reimbursable by Medicare Part B.
Okay.
But the family coaching services are not reimbursable by Medicare Part B. So that's a private pay basis. So with those families, I'm not seeing, I work with families where maybe their loved one does not live around here, does not live like in my zone. I've worked with a family in New York, a family in California, so virtually. So it doesn't matter if you're here in Indiana, but I have helped them through, okay, well, this is what the neurologist was saying. What does this mean? And I have them fill out kind of like an assessment, not really an assessment, but like an intake, so I can get a really good picture of where they are. Because that's what I did for 7 years. Like maybe I am not seeing them in their home environment, but I want them to paint a really good picture for me and be able to help them with their questions that they have about how do they transition their loved one into a new living environment? How do I approach that topic with them? What are questions that I should be asking the assisted living facility or memory care facility? Because, things that you ask are going to be a little bit different for like assisted living or long-term care if your loved one has a dementia diagnosis maybe versus another diagnosis.
Sure.
And just helping answering those questions and helping them in that way with transitions as well. So it's not always has to be like right in the assisted living or right in the memory care, but I also help families when maybe they don't live around here and we're trying to figure out that transition and being able to answer those questions that they might think to have the neurologist answer those questions, but the neurologist doesn't have time to answer those questions with them.
Right.
And they don't know. I mean, the neurologist doesn't go into the living environment and tell you how to set it up.
Yeah. That would be like impossible with what they have in like their life.
Right.
You exist. Yeah. COVID has, I know that it's like prickly and salty and like not been great and pleasant, but I have also helped somebody in North Carolina,
awesome.
Ohio, somewhere else. Because you can just Zoom. You don't have to.
Yes.
I also love a good family dynamic. I've been telling people this a lot lately. So like being able to get like the whole family on Zoom.
Yes.
And just, it's super impactful to have somebody that is not a part of your family.
Right.
And I am not trying to be the bad guy, but I think that having a third party educate you just on what they've seen and experienced just shifts your perspective a little bit.
Yes, 100%. I have helped families in that, maybe there's a sister living in another state and they don't see mom and dad all the time. So they don't think that there's anything going on. And
They're
what they're hearing, they're just like, oh, that's just normal. But the people living here, like, no, that this isn't. And I have really helped with that. Like you said, be that third party person to really provide education on, based off the picture they painted for me, this is where their loved one is. This is what really they should have in terms of support. And, this is what to prepare for moving forward. And there can be tears in that, obviously. I mean, we're talking about very sensitive things, but I've had families express such relief that they were given that time to have that one-on-one education and answer their questions.
Yeah, being able to be that space and that container or that vessel or whatever you want to call it, people just don't have access to that.
Right.
And I know that we are just like two people, but this is going to be a thing. There are going to be more people that want to be that space and that vessel for families. And I have been finding, I'm sure you've experienced this too, I've been doing like a free discovery call now for people to just like meet me, see what I'm talking about, see if it even makes sense. And my favorite part of that, as you know, I love just being a good cheerleader, is it literally takes 2 minutes of my life to say, you're doing an incredible job.
Yes.
I know this feels heavy. I know this feels overwhelming, but the fact that you're here right now on this call, and for all of you watching or listening, I will preach it until I'm blue in the face. The fact that you're doing this means you're doing a good job.
Yes.
And you can like hear shoulders drop. You can hear people be like, no one has told me that. So thank you. And that, I just love that. I could literally like pack my day with like 18 of those calls a day and just like, I love it.
I know. Just being able to see the light bulb go off once somebody has been provided the education about this disease, being able to see the light bulb go off of, oh, that's why there, is that breakdown in communication, and that's why they're not following the direction like they used to, or, maybe this is how we should have a conversation instead. Not feeling the guilt about hearing the same thing over and over again and only talking about the same topic over and over again, and that's okay because their loved one loves talking about it, and they should be able to relive that happiness every day. In terms of just sometimes when they're visiting, but being able to hear that relief and see like that light bulb go off and that sigh of relief of, okay, like now I have these tools of what to do moving forward.
Yeah, I think of it like a tool bag, not a box, because a box is a little restrictive, but a bag, I can fit a lot of stuff in a bag sometimes. And so when you are just gathering tools for your tool bag, you're set up for greater success.
Yeah, and obviously as the disease progresses, you're going to have new obstacles and new things that come up. But I just love that I've already built that relationship and that I'm there for them when that comes.
Totally. Yeah, it's not a new scary thing. It's we're just pivoting, or we're just adapting. We're not starting fresh, opening fresh wounds and doing this all over again. We're just here together moving forward.
Right. And then we're going to come up with new tools and new strategies, and we're still going, and I'm going to help with how do you still have that quality of life and enjoy that experience with your loved one. Another thing that I know we didn't get into this, but another thing that I do as well is, as a speech therapist, as a disease progresses, individuals have difficulty with swallowing, and I'm able to help with that part as well. So there are two things I hear. I hear either we're not there yet, or I think we're too far gone in a place where we might need your help.
Yes, let's unpack that.
And so the whole point of me providing the support is, hearing that you're not there yet, I'm trying to prevent that crisis situation from happening. So I want to support you before you get wherever here is.
Yeah.
So whether you have just a diagnosis of a mild cognitive impairment, maybe it's not a dementia diagnosis at the time, or if it's early stage dementia diagnosis and they say, well, we're not there yet, so we're not going to have anybody come. But the whole thing is that why not have those supports right where you are now to be able to enjoy this stage now and try to prevent a decline, from rapidly happening. So how can we try to support you where you are and adapt things and enhance, the living environment where you are now? And then when they say, I think you're too far gone, that's actually, I love helping families and supporting families even in the later stages, because there's so much support that I feel like a family should have, and that how to do things with sensory stimulation. Conversations might not be there anymore, but what are some tools that I can teach you about sensory, like enhancing the senses, still having quality time with your loved one, or how, with swallowing, what do we need to look at in terms of swallowing to decrease a risk of, choking, aspirating? That's usually what happens. Or what a concern can be. So how can I give you those tools to have your loved one enjoy their meal time and experience the meal with you? And also just, comfort in that later stage. So there's not one in particular, like I love working with families no matter what stage they're at.
So would you say any dementia diagnosis or cognitive diagnosis, anybody, no matter the stage, would be a good opportunity to reach out to you?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Now they might, things depend on if at that moment in time, what would qualify as, a Medicare therapy, or what would be more, am I more helping the family and providing support for the family? So, that's all dependent, but no, it's no matter where someone is in the disease progression. So, when like I said, when I hear the beginning or end.
Yeah. You do, like a initial consult for free as well, correct?
Yes.
So there's zero harm in that.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
And that's like also why I love doing these, is because then people kind of get to know you a little bit. Like, why wouldn't you want to hang out with Jessie on Zoom? I do. I talked to her last night. I talked to her yesterday on Zoom. I talk to her all the time. So like, she should probably start charging me soon. I don't know. But I just wanted to really clarify that, because even if somebody were to be watching right now, we hope that you are, and you are like, I want to learn more about that. Maybe in the back of your mind, you are saying one of the two things that you just shared, and it is, I'm not ready for that yet, and I'm too far gone. And I'm still at a point where that's fine if that's hanging out in the back of your mind. But if you are watching this and the front of your mind says, I want to know more about that, there's zero harm in having that conversation, not signing up or not taking advantage of it today, and just knowing that she's there and that you exist and that you can help, and like,
right.
Just to know that you,
yes. Yeah.
That was very frustrating for me in the space of senior living communities, is coming in to take a tour or talking many, many, many times on the phone, and I'm not ready for that yet. Well, right. What is that? And how will you know when you're ready? And what does ready look like? People stop saying that to me because I have a lot of questions about it. Like, what does that mean? And if that is a fall or a surgery or a diagnosis, do you want to wait till then?
Right.
Or do you want to have the power and you be in control of what this journey is going to look like? We only get one.
Right.
So being able to be proactive, there is nothing better than that. And especially when loved ones still have the ability to have an input and a little bit of control, that is empowering, not defeating.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I could talk about it for days. Another fun fact, I wrote it down because I don't know why we didn't lead with this, is that Jessie and I are on the Indiana Parkinson's Foundation board together.
Yes. Yes. I'm so excited.
I know. I've never been
like a year ago. I know. A year ago, would you ever have imagined that we were going to be on a board?
Not in a million years.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I'm so excited too about, with Parkinson's.
Yes.
There is a very high statistic of individuals experiencing Lewy body dementia, and it's such a misunderstood form of the dementias.
100%.
And these families need so much support. I mean, every family does with the dementia, but it's just Lewy body dementia just has its own very unique challenges.
Totally.
And so I'm so excited to be able to, now be a part of the Indiana Parkinson's Foundation, hopefully bring light to Lewy body dementia and have people have the support. And then also just raise awareness about the Indiana Parkinson's Foundation because, again, people don't know all of the resources that are out there available to them. And even if I'm working with somebody in a different state, like, hey, do you have a state Parkinson's Foundation? Like, maybe that's something that we need to explore.
Totally. Yeah, that I'm working on refining and revising it right now, but my actual roadmap for elder care, that is what I've been giving to people that are out of state because it is not state or city constrictive. It is, okay, so, and there's an insert for Parkinson's, and so it's going to say support group, foundation, senior center, maybe a climb or Rock City boxing location.
Yes.
And those are things that you can just search for in your local area, not necessarily needing to be Indiana specific.
Right.
So I just thought we should maybe get a little plug in there for Indiana Parkinson's Foundation because
yes,
official.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing too is that, and I know you obviously experienced this, and I know the foundation experiences this as well. Doctors don't really tell you what is out there in your area.
Right. 'Cause they're like treating you.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
So people think, even for me, for my therapy services, I'm going to tell you right now, your doctor is not going to refer you to a therapist, when they're having difficulty with memory, because they don't know oftentimes that a speech language pathologist works on something like that.
Right.
I've had countless families say, like, well, why didn't my doctor refer me to you? Well, these doctors don't even know some of the resources that are in the area. Right. So finding these people like yourself, like myself, who have those resources that we're aware of, and know that basically you need to be your own advocate to find these services, but that there are people out there that can help you find these services so that you're not spending hours and hours trying to find them on your own. A lot of the families that I'm working with, we call it the sandwich generation, where you might be, still in your own career, and then you have your kids that you're caring for, and then now you have your aging parents who you're caring for, and you do not have the time to try to, coordinate everything. So there are people out there like Christy and myself to help get you to resources.
Yeah, I helped somebody recently that said that I had saved them 18 to 25 hours of doing their own research, and that was worth way more than $249 because work smarter, not harder.
Yes, I know. For me, I mean, obviously mine's different from yours because it's specific to the dementia population, but when we're doing the family coaching, we come up with an action plan. So the action plan is these, based off of where your loved one is right now, these are the resources I would recommend. Moving forward, these are other resources I would recommend, so you already know about them ahead of time.
Yeah.
And
it's keeping them like you're saying, where they're at and a step ahead. Yes. And then when they get to that step ahead, a step ahead.
Right.
And that is that empowering feeling that I was talking about. Like, nothing is better than that. I live my life by my calendar, and for me to know that I just have to show up for the next 2 weeks because it's already planned for me makes me feel empowered. Right. I can show up and love people and be here on Facebook with all of my attention and energy. And that is what I want for family caregivers. That's what you want for family caregivers. And so being able to have that readily accessible to them. We are here. We are ready. We would love to Zoom with you.
Yeah.
All day, every day. I'm here for it. So it's just, I love it. It's really.
Yes. Yeah. And to build on that family coaching component, we have the initial consult, but typically families will choose to continue. Mm-hmm. And some families, it will be, we meet. I have some families where it's truly every other week because they just feel like they want that counseling, that support. There's some that it's just once a month. There's some that it's quarterly. And then there's some where it's just, I'm going to call you when I need you. But the thing about that, I recommend more scheduling them, like you said, because when I'm coaching you through things to have in place and helping you kind of give individualized recommendations on the challenges that you're facing from day to day, I'm building that relationship with you. So I want it to not just always be sporadic, because sometimes when it's sporadic, something's already happened, like a crisis situation. Yeah. And I want to try to prevent that crisis situation.
Like putting out fires. Let's just not start a fire.
Yeah.
Because then we don't have to, we'll just be preventative.
Right.
And we're very preventative, I think, with a lot of different areas in our life. And this is just an area that, because the fear of the unknown, that's all that it is. It's a fear of the unknown and not feeling educated or equipped or confident in navigating this. Mm-hmm. That's when crises arise. That's when family dynamics get a little bit hairy. And I have seen, as you probably have as well, far too many end-of-life situations where the families are in deep, deep turmoil and maybe frustration and anger and resentment towards each other. And that's what I'm super passionate about, is just being like, wait a second, why are we all here? Is it for your loved one? Yeah. And what would they want?
Right.
And just like, it's a very subtle shift in perspective, but not waiting until fires are happening or crises are happening.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And, so my husband, he had cancer when he was younger, and he's good. He's fine now. He's good. Yeah. But anyway, for cancer, you get a team. There's a whole team there. There's people to support your family. There's people to support your siblings. He was younger, so his sibling was supported. His parents were supported. He was supported. When you have a dementia diagnosis, there is no team there supporting you. So I want to be that team of, how are we going to handle when they get to the next phase and they're maybe they're wandering all the time and they're trying to head out the door, or they're becoming aggressive and they're becoming, not wanting to take a shower and they're not eating anything anymore and they're just staring at their food, or, oh my goodness, I've made them all of this food and I put it in the refrigerator and I labeled it and I told them exactly what to do. Why are they not doing it? All of those things, I'm there to be that, not a book that you're reading, but that one-on-one personalized experience to help counsel you through what to do. And again, it's going to be trial and error for some things, but I'm coming from that clinical background of having that experience of working in this space for the past 8 years now.
I know. We're like growing up.
I know. Yeah. I know.
We're on boards. We've got businesses. Look at us go. That's right. We're here for it.
It's unbelievable to think that I've now been a therapist for 8 years. And now, I hear of other people. It's like, oh, I've been doing this for 25 years.
Sure.
But,
but there's a lot of value in that. And a number that I throw out often is that I've helped over 4,400 families navigate this process. And I say that number because A, I want people to realize that they are not alone. Yes. And B, how my brain works is if I have seen 4,400 situations, my brain has come up with a couple other solutions that they could have taken and they just didn't. And that's okay, because maybe whatever worked for them. And so I feel like I have like a catalog of, wait a second, have you thought of this? Have you considered this? Did you know that the memory compass exists? So, but truly, and just like you, having all of these experiences have prepared us to provide very individualized, impactful resources and support.
Right. And that's, something that I feel like is unique to my dementia family coaching. There are other dementia family coaches out there, and I think that there's not going to be enough. I mean, so many people have the diagnosis. So, but I think one thing that sets mine a little bit apart is just the fact that I am used to going into the home and seeing the breakdown there. So when I have a session, even if it's virtually and I'm not in your home, my mind is already thinking of, okay, well, this is what I've seen in this home and this is what's been successful. And so I already see that functional breakdown every day. So I'm going to apply that experience, to your situation. So I've never just been the clinician that's maybe just been in like the outpatient office. I'm in your living environment. So my recommendations are going to be more tailored like that.
Yeah, that's huge. That's like a big deal. It is like incredibly helpful. I had one more thing, but first I have so many things. We're like already at an hour and I
know, I can't believe it. Where did the time go?
I don't know. We could do this for like 3 more hours. I know you have like a family and like I should go home, but whatever. So one of my things that I am so excited to ask each and every guest is, what is their favorite soul care practice? So I would love if you would share with us what your favorite soul care practice is.
My soul care practice. Okay.
Build back up and.
Now, I have a 2.5-year-old. So my soul care practice. Let's see. My soul care practice is when Carson goes to bed, and I get to curl up under a blanket on the couch and I get to read a book. I love having that time to just unwind. And even sometimes it's just a few pages because I fall asleep after page 2.
Because you have a 2.5-year-old. Family coaching all day.
Yes. But just having that time to just kind of get lost in a book a little bit. I think I love that.
That's awesome. It's important that we definitely like destigmatize that for sure too. And like, I plan to do this at least for 12 weeks. And so seeing 12 people that are successful, that are making a difference, that are making an impact, and knowing that they still have practices that they do so that they can do all of those things we just mentioned. I just really think that it's helpful for somebody watching after the 12 weeks are over to look back and say, oh, well, I would like to maybe start doing that, or, oh, that's a good practice to implement. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I've been trying to not have my phone right before bed. Just clear my mind.
I'm okay about at night, but I just watched something today actually, and she was talking about setting like an old school alarm clock, because when your phone is your alarm, I'm totally inclined to do this. I like very quickly will just like check Instagram, check my email, check my Facebook, just like, because something could have totally happened in the 8 hours I was sleeping, and not doing that, because then you're not waking up reactive.
Yeah. We actually, I guess that could be my other soul care thing, is that my husband and I, this might make some people laugh, but we bought one of those Hatch alarm clocks.
Okay.
Okay, so I was using my phone to wake up. I had an alarm. He had his alarm on the phone. And we've been putting our phones not in our bedroom at night. Mm-hmm. And this alarm clock like slowly lights up the room.
Yes. Okay, so I didn't know what it was called. My friend just got one for her boyfriend.
So it's not, so it's, I mean, they look kind of funky, but But it has been so nice to not wake up to that, like, that awful sound of your alarm,
Yeah.
and just naturally wake up and not immediately look at, oh my gosh, what email did I get, and immediately get into work mode. So instead, I've just, been slowly waking up, and then we'll get ready and like we'll have our coffee in the morning, and then I'll go look at my phone.
Amber calls it melting into the day, and I have loved that.
Oh, I like
I know.
that.
Woo! When she said it,
Melting.
I was like,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You're just easing in, you're just melting into the day. Yes.
I love that. So speaking of that, and just like sharing, I do want to share like how people can reach you and all of the things, but when you do follow Jessie at the Memory Compass on Facebook, Instagram, all the places, I love I think it's on stories, but like even today, the lady that was maybe like wandering or trying to leave.
Oh, with her purse.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just giving the purse,
Yeah.
like hiding the purse, like stuff like that. Y'all, that's free education.
Yeah.
Free education that you may have somebody in your life that's experiencing that, and to be able to just like tune into those and know that you are always here and providing.
Yeah. I'm trying to do more of those. I when I go from patient to patient, sometimes I forget about those small things that it just comes naturally to me, but that might be very helpful, even if it's just a small thing for someone else. So I'm trying to do better at thinking to post things like that for people.
Yeah, it's sometimes those very subtle shifts that, and two, I think it's the subtle shifts and the subtle information that then people are like, oh, that's what's possible.
Yeah.
That's available to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching, I hope you've already hopped over and liked and followed, because you do a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What else did I have? I think those were all of my questions. I think we covered lots of really, really good stuff. I would love if you could just share with everybody where to find you, how to connect with you.
Okay, so my Facebook business page is the Memory Compass Therapy and Dementia Family Coaching. My Instagram is at the Memory Compass Indie. To schedule a 15-minute free consult, no harm, no commitment. You just go to www.thememorycompass.com and hit the contact tab, and there will be a scheduling little thing on there that you can schedule a time that's convenient for you.
Awesome. And I will drop all of that information that she just shared in the comments of this video. We'll put them in the show notes of the podcast, so you can be sure to reach out to Jessie. She is, obviously, you've hung out with her for an hour now. She's so much fun, and just, I always feel very like safe and secure and open and able to just openly communicate with you. And I'm sure families feel that too. So
thank you.
You're welcome. You really are a tremendous gift in this space, and I appreciate you. I'm so glad that we've connected, and we will stay together forever. So
yes.
Just for that.
Yes. Helping families.
Yes. Yeah.
The resources they need.
For sure. Well, thank you all that have tuned in and are watching here live on Facebook and catching us on the replays tomorrow. If you have any questions for us, I'll put my contact information in the comments below as well. And Jessie, thank you again so much.
Thank you so much, Christy.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye.